Thank you. Oh. Well, thank you, Bob. I really, really appreciate that. Thanks, Susan. Thank you, so many people that there's too many to thank. This event has taken a little bit of planning, a little bit of a sweat, and all of those kinds of things. I really, really appreciate all the work that's gone into this. So I'm going to hold a microphone and advance slides at the same time. I'm going to see how this works here. But so I wanted to talk tonight about the book that I wrote, The Agile Brand, and just give an overview of. It's obviously for sale in the back there as well. I have to plug my stuff, but a little bit. I won't go into too much detail about me, but I'm SVP Digital at Yes and. Yes, thank you. And I sit on a few boards. I'm on the AAF National Innovation Committee. Really working to tie the advertising community and innovative technology companies, do a little writing for Forbes and some other things. As Bob said, I don't sleep very much, but I'm cool with that. So, why write a book? And I think this place that we're in right here, put on by Arlington Public Library and Rosslyn BID, this pop-up location, this is a really interesting space and a really interesting way to talk about, why write a book in an age of Twitter and blogging and all of these, real-time communications? And I believe that, that there are some things that you want to put in a more permanent form. And, these thoughts are very valuable to me. I spent a while researching them and looking forward to, kind of sharing them with the world. So why Agile? I think there's a lot of talk about this in the software community. Agile methodology has been around for years, but applying this to marketing and also applying it to branding, I think there are some interesting things to talk about. Technology has changed. It makes everything more immediate. Marketing itself has changed. The way that we have immediate access to data, as Bob was saying earlier, really has changed, and consumers have changed. Consumers want to be more part of the process than they ever were. They want to own more of the brand than they ever have. So, let's talk a little bit about brands. So, a lot of people think that, the brand is the brand guidelines or a brand is a logo, but, Jeff Bezos, who will hopefully be moving to Arlington soon, says it really well. Your brand isn't just a logo. It's not just what you say it is. It's what other people say about you when you're not there. And this is so important because a brand needs to be about something deeper than that superficial stuff. It needs to look great. It needs to reflect well on what you want to do, but it needs to connect with the consumers that you're targeting. More than that, a brand is a vocabulary. It's the way that people talk about you. It's not just the words they use, but it's the way that they talk. It's a relationship that you have with your customers. So, I'll get into that in a little bit more, but it's not a one-way communication anymore, and it's a continually evolving entity. From the time that a brand launches to decades into the future, it will evolve, it will change. Successful brands focus on the things that matter. So substance, focus, relevance. It's not everyone to everyone, or it's not everything to everyone. It's really this combination of these things that really center in on the consumer, on a single set of ideas. And how this came about is really there's been an evolution of the brand-consumer relationship. So Seth Godin, I'm sure you've probably heard of him. It's a shortcut. It's a shortcut for all the expectations I have for what you're doing, what you're about to do for me. So again, it's not visually what I see. It's what I feel when I interact with you. It's the memories that I have of my last interaction. All of those kinds of things. And brands over time have gone through this evolution from this idea of a brand as an object turning into a brand as an idea to an experience to a relationship. So we started out with brands as really an object. It was something to awareness of a product, awareness of a company was enough to sell. It was an age of mass media, mass communication. It was enough to reach someone because choices were less plentiful. And so, first trivia fact here, first logo ever designed, Stella Artois, 1366. That was enough for that. They didn't need a complex brand positioning statement. They didn't need a social media campaign. It was enough to be recognized. Hopefully the beer tasted good, but it was enough to be there. To be recognized and all of that. But as time goes on, when there are a million logos, it's not enough to just be recognized because you're recognizing a million things all over the place. So this idea of a brand owning an idea. So what is a concept that I want people to think about when they use my product? What is a verb that they want to use or a noun that they want to use? Is it a Kleenex or is it a tissue? Do I Google something? Do I search something? These brands have replaced ideas and verbs even and actions with their own brand names. Anya's, my niece is waving to me. My biggest fan. So then, again, as ideas grow and as everyone gets this idea to be brand as idea, all of a sudden we need more. We need engagement. It's not enough to own this mental space that people have. We need to engage them. We need to create that emotional contact and that emotional connection. So few brands do it as well as Disney, who created theme parks back in the 50s and who create online experiences. And whether you like it or not, they have built their brand around this idea that you can experience this huge interactive toy store, for lack of a better term, and really at every step, they do it so well that they teach others how to do it. But really, really getting inside what the consumer wants and owning that. But even that is a one-time experience often, and so we get into this idea of an ongoing relationship. So how do you turn one-off experiences into something more something deeper, something more engaging? You have this continual cycle of engagement. Someone is not always buying, but they can always be engaging you with you in some way, whether you're helping them with something or really helping solve a problem. You're not always selling, but you're always there. You're always present. And as this chart shows, it's not just about a sale. There's customer service after a sale. There's education before a sale. All of these things, the brand really needs to own all of those places, or they're going to lose you. So what changed to make this happen? So the difference between winning and losing is he who treats the customer the best. It's not necessarily about being first to market. It's not necessarily about even having the best product. It's about how do you interact and engage with your customers. So I've separated this into five things that really have changed with the customer experience. So social transformation, which really the way that we interact not only with each other, but with brands. Brand as experience, which I talked about a little bit ago. Market disruption and exponential technology, so things like AI, machine learning, all of that. The modern customer experience, which is device agnostic, and agile marketing and access to real-time data. So for social transformation, how do you find out about new products and services? It used to be you would ask your neighbor. It was this word of mouth, either word of mouth or mass advertising. There are a million ways to find out about new products. You can, whether people are trusting reviews more and more often than they ever did, like from random people that they've never met. You can ask Alexa questions about things and find instant answers. So this whole idea that social media has transformed the way that we socialize and we find out about information. Brand as experience. So is Nike a shoe company? Do they make clothes, or are they about experience and a lifestyle? They revolutionized this whole idea of brand as experience with a product before there were apps, when there were still iPods. They came up with Nike Plus, which really took them beyond selling shoes. It's sure they do. They make a lot of money selling shoes, but it's about more than that. It's about the experience that you have after you own the product. Do you Uber or do you take a taxi? I mean, again, Uber has owned that idea of getting from point A to point B. They also disrupted an entire industry. And then, you know, the exponential technology. So, you know, the last time you engaged with customer support, was it really a person? Was it a chatbot? Do you really know? Sometimes it's hard to tell. All of these things are learning and working in real time. And you know, modern customer service. So how many different ways can you interact with Amazon? I actually managed to get them on the phone the other day, which was actually not very easy, but it's much easier to interact with them every other way for what it's worth. But you can tweet them, you can access through the app, you can ask Alexa, you can go through the website, all of these things. The consumer wants to interact when, where, how they want to, and you know, with whatever device, with whatever medium they want to interact. And finally, agile marketing. So this idea that big data turns into real-time data, turns into the ability to number crunch and get access to things to be agile whenever we want to. You know, we can change marketing campaigns on the fly and have the access and the knowledge to be able to make intelligent choices. So about Agile. So there's some problems with the way that the traditional method of, you know, Agile started with software development. So, you know, from Scotty from Star Trek, the more they overthink the plumbing, the easier it is to stop up the drain. So this whole idea that, you know, so much planning goes in at the beginning of a project or some kind of campaign, and you think through every single scenario, and yet you run this thing, it's in market, and it doesn't work. So what do? Do you wait 6 months to change it? No, you don't necessarily go through this process of such detailed requirements that you can't back out of them. It's an expensive way to do things when you have such immediate access to data and to the knowledge that can make things better. So the first application of Agile, this, you know, which is really this series of sprints that get us to, you know, to the ideal iteration, really started with software development. And, you know, so we use that often with things like website development, app development, but it can be applied to marketing because, again, the same things apply. We come up with base requirements, we iterate, we make it better, we use data, we use better understanding to make things better. Finally, we get to that point where we are optimized. And I think, you know, one other thing to touch on here, the idea within the Agile methodology is there are several different roles in the process. There are project managers called Scrum Masters. There are a lot of different roles in this process. The product owner is really the one that owns the product. As we'll see as I kind of talk through here, the product owner of a brand used to just be a brand manager or a CMO or someone on the, let's call it the client side. What's happening is consumers want some measure of control over their brands. They don't get all of the control over the brand, but they demand some of it. And you know, I think this is an interesting dynamic to talk about. So Agile brands, these are the things that they value. They value long-term customers over short-term sales. They value dialogue with customers over broadcasting one-way marketing messaging. They value staying true to values over doing whatever can be done to generate profits. They value continual improvement over maintaining the status quo. And this sets them apart from the traditional brand. It means that there is that open dialogue with customers. There are genuine stories being told because they share the values of the people hearing them. They use data to drive deeper insights and to grow. They think holistically about the customer experience. They know that consumers are all over on any device at any time. They stay nimble by always listening, and they adjust. And they let go of some things, as I was saying about the product owner. They let go of some things in order to get more and a deeper relationship from a consumer. So one example I go through in the book a little deeper, Netflix, I think, has done some interesting things over its lifespan. So started out with a very terrible logo, I will say, but back in the 90s, there was this thing called Blockbuster, and everyone would complain about late fees, and videos wouldn't be on the shelf, and all of that kind of stuff. So this guy thought, I can do better. I'm sick of paying $40 in late fees, and I think we can do better using a different model. Disrupted an entire industry by really just rethinking the delivery of videos to people. Eventually, embraced this idea of streaming video. Before it was really, really possible to do great streaming video, embraced that. Almost introduced, I don't know if you're familiar with this, they almost introduced a brand called Quickster. They were splitting up their mail order business from their streaming business. A few weeks before launch, they ended up with a reversal of that because there was so much outrage over paying fees to two different companies. But what they did, they learned from their mistake. They listened to customers, they were agile. I mean, how terrible is it to be weeks from launch with a new brand and just shut everything down? But think about if new Coke would have done that, how many millions of dollars would have been saved. And then finally, they took risks. They invested and still invest billions of dollars in original programming when there was no proven model to do that. TV, normal network TV was still killing other, HBO, all of those more, quote unquote traditional channels were really still killing Netflix from an original content standpoint. So, agile brands are nimble to risk and quick to seize opportunity. They aren't afraid to let go of the consistency handcuffs or bend rules when necessary. It is this idea that we need to stay iterative, we need to think agile, but in addition to that, there are some things that we need to consider. We cannot be agile with our values. We cannot be agile with our core unique positioning. So I think the difference between an agile methodology with software perhaps and a brand is there are things that stay the same. There are things that should stay the same. There are reasons why consumers have a relationship, but there are a lot of things that don't have to. We don't have to be rigid. We need to listen, we need to adjust. And by doing this, it does mean we stand out. We stand out because people are able to connect with us. They're able to find something that means something to them. It may mean that we don't appeal to everyone, but if you try to appeal to everyone, you're not going to be successful. You're not going to appeal to anyone truly. I think, a quote from Steve Jobs. So, to me, marketing is about values. This is a very noisy world, and we're not going to get the chance to get people to remember much about us. So we have to be really clear what we want them to know. And that's so meaningful because there is so much noise. There are so many messages being told. There are so many brands that are positioning themselves as an object, as an idea, but they're not really breaking through the clutter. They're not really building that relationship. So with the idea that brands are becoming more complex, it means we need to evolve. We need to evolve our communication. We need to evolve the way that we interact with consumers, and again, what we might give up in order to have a greater relationship. We give up a little control, but we gain a relationship with our consumers, and we can truly focus on those things that matter, continually optimizing along the way. So thank you so much. Yeah.